Retro Road Test, Mercedes-Benz C-Class vs BMW 3 Series, 1996, UK Spec, 2.0 Litre. If the late 1990s had a battleground more hotly contested than the Oasis vs Blurchart war, it was surely the fight between the Mercedes-Benz C-Class and the BMW 3 Series. Both promised German precision, both offered badges dripping with prestige, and both were pitched squarely at the upwardly mobile. The archetypal junior executive, mobile phone the size of a house brick in hand, had a choice to make, the three-pointed star or the blue and white roundel. This was more than a question of transport, this was a question of identity. Were you a sensible chap who liked comfort and cigars, or were you a keen driver who secretly thought they could have been Damon Hill if they hadn't missed karting lessons at age 10? To settle it once and for all, we've plucked two prime contenders from 1996 UK showrooms, the Mercedes-Benz C180, 2.0 litre four-cylinder, W202 generation, and the BMW 320i, E36 generation. Each claims to represent the best of its brand. Each also insists that its 2.0 litre engine is perfectly adequate, despite what their bigger six-cylinder brothers might suggest after a pint or two. So, put on your Britpop mixtape, tighten your tie, and let's see who really rules the corporate car park. Styling and first impressions. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class, introduced in 1993 as the spiritual successor to the venerable 190e, carries all the hallmarks of Stuttgart restraint. It looks like a scaled-down S-Class, which is precisely the point. Mercedes wanted its smallest saloon to exude gravitas, not frivolity. In silver with discreet alloys, it whispers respectable professional with a decent pension plan which, in fairness, was what many buyers wanted. There's chrome, yes, but it's tasteful rather than Vegas. The lines are clean, upright, and almost apologetically German. If cars were suits, the C-Class would be a grey pinstripe from Marks & Spencer, conservative, well-tailored, and unlikely to get you thrown out of the golf club. The BMW 3 Series, by contrast, is the one wearing a slimmer, slightly more daring Italian cut. The E36, launched in 1990, was a clean break from the boxy E30 of the 80s. It's lower, sleeker, and has those trademark kidney grills that sneer at traffic ahead. There's a whiff of aggression about it, as if it's perpetually late for an appointment in the fast lane. The 320i in SE trim is neatly proportioned, with a purposeful stance that makes even the modest four-cylinder model look ready for action. Where the Merc says steady as she goes, the BMW mutters follow me if you dare. Winner in the car park beauty contest. It depends. The Mercedes will earn nods of approval from the Rotary Club, while the BMW will get you a wink from the lad who reads Max Power and thinks alloys are a religion. Interior and ergonomics. Step inside the Mercedes and you'll find an environment designed less by artists and more by engineers with rulers. The dashboard is upright and businesslike, with big, solid buttons that clunk reassuringly when pressed. The plastics are hard, but they feel like they'll last until the year 3000. The seats are firm but supportive, offering the kind of posture correction your physio would applaud. Everything is exactly where you'd expect it to be, German logic at its best. You could get into one blindfolded, not recommended, and still find the headlamp switch. Even the stalks feel like they've been over-engineered. It's more control room of a nuclear submarine than cozy lounge, but there's an undeniable sense of quality. The BMW greets you with a cabin angled towards the driver, a subtle nod that you're the star of this show. The dashboard arcs slightly around you, and the dials are crisp, orange-lit masterpieces of clarity. The driving position is lower, sportier, making you feel immediately at one with the car. The materials aren't quite as indestructible as those in the Mercedes. Some of the plastics have all the tactile joy of a Poundland stapler, but it feels lighter, fresher, and somehow younger. The seats hug rather than perch, and there's an eagerness in the layout that screams go on, take the long way home. So, Mercedes offers you comfort and Teutonic solidity, BMW offers you driver focus and a hint of playfulness. Depends whether you're in the mood for a firm handshake or a cheeky grin. Engines and performance are the heart of the matter, those modest but respectable 2.0-litre engines. Mercedes-Benz C180, 2.0-litre, 4-cylinder, 122 bhp. The C180's 2.0-litre engine is a sturdy unit, producing 122 bhp. That translates into a 0-60 mph time of around 11.5 seconds, which is about the same as it takes to explain the offside rule to your nan. Top speed is a respectable 124 mph. It's not fast, not even by mid-90s standards, but it's smooth and quiet. The Merc doesn't encourage you to thrash it, it's happiest wafting along at 70 on the M1, sipping fuel with all the enthusiasm of a dieting monk. The 5-speed manual gearbox is precise if not particularly quick, while the optional automatic is as laid back as a hammock in Marbella. It'll get you there, but it won't get your pulse racing. BMW 320i, 2.0-litre, 4-cylinder, 150 bhp. The BMW, meanwhile, comes armed with 150 bhp from its 2.0-litre twin-cam engine. Suddenly, things look more interesting. 0-60 arrives in around 9.5 seconds, which feels positively sprightly compared to the Merc. The top speed of 134 mph is equally useful if you've accidentally joined the Autobahn on your way to Aldi. The engine is free-revving, willing, and makes a pleasantly throaty noise when encouraged. Where the Mercedes gently hums, the BMW sings. The gearshift is light and precise, the ratios well chosen, and the whole package feels alive. It's not an M3, of course, but it gives you just enough of a taste to make you dream. In short, the Mercedes is the accountant's choice, the BMW is the junior sales manager who reckons he's destined for greatness. Ride and handling. This is where the philosophy of each car really comes into play. The Mercedes prioritizes comfort. Its suspension is soft but controlled, soaking up potholes and speed bumps with dignified ease. On the motorway, it's serene, barely a whisper of wind or tire noise. On a twisty B-road, however, it's less keen. The steering is accurate but numb, and body roll makes itself known if you push too hard. It's a car that says, calm down, there's no rush. Have a Werther's original and relax. The BMW, by contrast, practically begs to be hurled at corners. The rear-wheel drive chassis is perfectly balanced, the steering alive with feedback, and the suspension firm without being punishing. There's grip in abundance, and if you're feeling particularly racy, you can even coax the tail out a little, responsibly, of course. On a motorway, it's a touch noisier than the Merc, but the payoff comes when you leave the dual carriageway and find a winding stretch of tarmac. Here, the 3 Series reminds you why BMW built its reputation on the ultimate driving machine. It simply feels more alive, more interested in what you're doing, more fun. So, comfort versus agility, serenity versus mischief. Choose your poison. Practicality and running costs. Neither of these saloons was designed to carry wardrobes or survive Glastonbury. But they're perfectly practical for the average executive life. Both have boots large enough for 2 golf bags or 1 decent family shop. Rear legroom is acceptable in both, though the BMW is a shade tighter if you've got lanky passengers. The Mercedes' higher roofline makes it feel airier, while the BMW's lower stance eats into rear headroom. Running costs in 1996 weren't ruinous but weren't cheap either. Both cars sit in higher insurance groups than your average Mondeo, thanks to the badges and the rear-wheel drive dynamics. The Mercedes tends to sip fuel more frugally, expect mid to high 30s miles per gallon on a steady run, while the BMW, being more eager, will dip into the low 30s if pushed. Servicing costs. Both are premium, though Mercedes parts have a reputation for being slightly more expensive, while BMWs often demanded a bit more attention to keep them sharp. Depreciation was a killer in period, though today that's just trivia for classic car nerds. In the 90s, either of these cars would lose value faster than a first edition Spice Girls cassette. But as a company car, who cared? The tax man was paying anyway. Image and ownership. Here's where things get really interesting. Image is half the battle in this segment. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class was seen as the grown-up choice. Respectable, conservative, and undeniably classy. Owning one in 1996 suggested you'd made it, at least as far as middle management. It was popular with solicitors, doctors, and anyone who didn't feel the need to prove themselves at traffic lights. If you pulled up in a C180, people assumed you were serious, dependable, maybe even a bit boring. But boring in a reassuring way. The BMW 3 Series, meanwhile, was the flashier option. Sportier, sharper, and, let's be honest, sometimes associated with the kind of driver who believed indicators were optional extras. In 1996, the BMW driver stereotype was already well established: aggressive lane changers, tailgaters, and people who thought fog lights were fashion accessories. But equally, the 3 Series carried street cred. It was the cool choice, the one that made you feel younger, edgier, more alive. It was Oasis to the Mercedes Phil Collins. Verdict. So, after 2,500 words of tire kicking, dashboard prodding, and B-road blasting, where do we stand? The Mercedes-Benz C-Class, C180, 2.0 Litre, is an accomplished, comfortable, and supremely well-built car. It offers a refined, grown-up experience, prioritizing comfort and long-term quality over outright excitement. It's the car you'd want for motorway commutes, long trips, or if you simply valued serenity over stimulation. It's also the one most likely to still be running in 2025 with only a faint smell of Werther's Originals lingering in the glove box. The BMW 3 Series, 320i, 2.0 Litre, is sharper, faster, and more involving. It makes every journey feel like an event, even if that event is just driving to Sainsbury's for milk. It's not quite as plush, not quite as serene, and not quite as solid feeling as the Merc. But it's undeniably more fun, and it makes you feel like a better driver than you probably are. If you're choosing with your head, buy the Mercedes. If you're choosing with your heart, buy the BMW. And perhaps that's the point. In 1996, you didn't just pick a car, you picked a personality.